Hi guys. Happy New Year. I hope 2019 ended well for all of you. For me, it was a very rough year. I had so many spiritual hiccups, physical hiccups, emotional hiccups. 2019 proved to have been truly a year of closure. Um, if you follow any other spiritual channel, you would have heard so many people talked about how 2019 was that year of ending a decade. And I did an inventory of my decade and I saw a pattern. It was a pattern that I don't think I was paying attention to so much, which is why I decided to record instead of just writing down and keeping it personal. So, if any of you take that time to think of your life, take your age and break it down into decades, I can guarantee you'll see a pattern. And I'm almost 99.9% sure the pattern can be broken and you can enter whatever that atmosphere or that story or that journey that you've been trying to enter in one piece, to say the least. So, I'm gonna do my best to give you a brief review of what I found about myself, and maybe that can help. Okay, going back to 2009. 2009 was for me a period of spiritual bursting. Um, a brief history of my health. I just had my son in 2007. I was a young mother, and even though I wasn't single, I was in a full long-term relationship. Becoming a mother was kind of terrifying to me because of my childhood. It was pretty rough, so I don't think I estimated the stress that I was under correctly, and I pretty much went on with my pregnancy like every other female. And it wasn't until, I believe, a year after my son was born, around his first birthday, that I came to that realization that I was suffering from postpartum depression. Now, the postpartum depression led to me just like losing touch with my reality and reliving those old childhood terrors on a continuous basis, to the point where I couldn't stop them from experiencing, running through my head, my emotions going awry. I just couldn't stop it. And I ended up seeing a psychiatrist who later helped me to understand exactly what postpartum depression really was, that it was less of a psychological issue, more of an emotional and anxiety and hormonal issue. Because one thing that I was explained was that under any other circumstances, if I was still experiencing those past traumas, my body would have had a chance to heal itself. My mind would have had a chance to balance itself. But however, because I was going through having gone through labor and delivery and having going through the 10 months of pregnancy, the imbalancement in my hormones caused my body and my mind to not be able to do what they normally would do. And that kind of helped me to get back to normal, as you would say. So that was 2008. 2009, I spent that whole year in meditation. I spent that whole year just evaluating my life, evaluating who I wanted to become, what I wanted to be, and what type of mother that I wanted to be to my son. And I actually started 2010 on good terms. I purchased a few spiritual books. I'll link one down below, which is a book that has helped me so much in my life. Um, it took me about 6 months to read that book because, like I said, I was coming off of the the shock of the postpartum depression. And so as I was reading the book, and it's a book about understanding, developing, balancing your chakras, I was literally like with a notebook and the book in my hand and just running through the exercises, the information, and just had stories or memories would pop up in my head. I would take notes, and I probably spent most of that time thinking and resolving than actually like reading. So 6 months later, I finished the book, and then what I realized in the 10-year period was my bounce back, you can say, was too quick for me. I went from about an 8-month period of postpartum depression, healing, rebalancing, coming back to reality, coming back to the daily norms of my life, to graduating college, getting married, moving to New York, having a second child, becoming a mother of two. It was just a lot in 10 years. And it wasn't until New Year's Eve that I was just running the 10-year period in my mind, and I'm like, I'm not doing this again, this 10-year period. 2020 to 2029, I'm going to actually take things slow. Because the one thing I noticed is I didn't enjoy those events as much as I should have. And not to say they weren't pleasant, which they were. I love being pregnant with my daughter. I remember the 3 days we were in the hospital. I would just stare at her and mentally send her positive energy and promises of how her life would be different from mine. And those happy, enjoyable moments were so short-lived compared to the speed of events that took place in my life. Like everything was like on fast forward. And I woke up on January 1st of 2020 with no hype of it's the new year. I literally woke up and I was like, I grabbed this old book that I have. I'll take a picture and leave it for you guys to see. And I was like, I'm going to use this old book to jot down my year. If this book lasts more than a year, then I will have a journal of however many years it lasts, so I can really get a big picture of how I'm directing my life. Now, my reason for sharing all of that is because if you listen to any of my videos, you will always see that I put the responsibility of my physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being on myself. I'm someone who believes that when we were children, it was our parents' duties and responsibility to make sure that we became healthy adults. However, once we became adults, the responsibility fell on our laps. And so many of us have either been victims of religious indoctrinations or victims of spiritual attacks to the point where we can't really take full responsibility for some of those foolish things that we do. And I'm one who can take responsibility for my foolishness and take responsibility for those amazing things that I accomplish or wish to accomplish. And I hope and wish the same for you, because there's this level of liberation and freedom that comes with knowing that, hey, if, God forbid, if I stub my toe and I saw that rock as I was walking on that path, that's my fault. I should have walked around the rock versus continuing straight at the rock as if the rock is going to move. Now, I know that's a horrible analogy, but it gives you an idea. Like, life is there, and it's up to you to analyze and really do your due diligence with your own self. Take inventory of yourself. Today I'm feeling happy, sad, upset. Why? My life is over stressful. Why? Because a lot of the times, if we just take that initiative to take inventory of ourselves, where we are in life, what our accomplishments are, we can lessen so much of those stresses. We can lower those stresses to the point where they're more manageable and we're able to conduct ourselves in a more successful manner. So that's pretty much the goal, the overall agenda for this 10-year period. I'm trying to see if I can create some type of project that I can start and we can do together. And it will be, long term. It won't be something that's fly by night where we start and we don't finish. Because this spiritual awakening phenomenon that everyone is on, it's not something that is for the light heart. Because the one thing I've noticed is that many people who take on this spiritual journey, we're professionals, we work 9 to 5 jobs, we're regular people. We just know that there's something bigger to life, and we're not afraid to go find out what is this big thing that's been itching at me. And it takes work, of course. It takes a lot of work, but a lot of us are strong enough and willing to do the work. So this is that period where it's like an open door that you can actually look back and see, oh my God, this is the pattern of my life. Every 4th year, every 6th year of my decades, I've done this, which leads to this, which ruins the next 10-year periods. And for some of us, it can be human to human relationships, because a lot of us, I was reading this thing on Instagram where it said, if you can't spend time alone with yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly parts of you, how do you expect someone else to take in the good, the bad, and the ugly parts of you? And that was something that was like, it hit me hard, because I'm like, that is so true. So many people have beautiful relationships that end horribly because we simply didn't take time out to just sit with ourselves. We didn't take time out to help ourselves grow. Because one thing I will say is, and I'm gonna end this because I feel like I'm starting to ramble, you have your idea of what your partner should be. Your partner has an idea of what they want. And when two balanced people come together, it creates for one amazing relationship. And that's something that a lot of us never get to experience, because our traumas are powerful. And if we're not careful, our traumas can take over our lives and become, our lives. We start living in those emotions. We start reliving those traumatic experiences from the past. We start being that stress trigger that gets us going in the right or wrong direction. We no longer are ourselves. And so many of us will find ourselves saying, man, Tuesday I was not myself. And that's a fact. That's the truth. You were not yourself. You were either whatever emotion you were feeling, or whatever stress trigger that had you going, or whatever traumatic experience is running in the background of your mind. Those moments where we take that time to do our inventory, and you can do it on a daily basis, you can do it on a weekly basis, but for me it works on a daily basis. Like every night, as I'm turning down, I'm so bad at the English phrases, as I'm getting ready for bed as I'm getting ready for bed, I always evaluate my day. My newest thing that I'm doing is literally trying to remember what I did for that day. And I never realized how bad my short-term memory was until I tried it. And I started trying it in November. It's gotten better, but in November, it was Tuesday night, and I was sitting on the couch like, okay, let me go over what I did today. And I promise you, I literally could not remember what I did in the middle of the afternoon. I'm like, what did I do? I couldn't remember. And that just taught me that I was not conscious conscious of myself. I wasn't aware of myself, my path, my journey, my day, to the point where half of my day went missing. And it wasn't until like a day or two later that I remembered, oh yeah, I did that on Tuesday afternoon. Wow, that took a while to reach me. And these are the little things that create self-value and self-worth, and allows us to freely love ourselves. And loving ourselves does not have to be, running around making a scene or posting all kind of crazy self-love posts. No, you could literally be sitting down enjoying that cup of tea that you've been wanting to enjoy for 3 days now. It could be watching your favorite show that you've been wanting to watch. Little things are self-love, or just relaxing with a book. So this is the decade to literally take inventory and enhance our lives. Switch that role. Whatever role we were stuck playing that we agreed or disagreed with, this is the decade to literally change it. Because as we grow spiritually, a lot of us experience that moment where our physical world doesn't match where we want to go. And when that happens, we either get upset, frustrated, depressed. And the only way to combat that is to literally do your inventory. If something doesn't match with what you want, you have to do your inventory and reconcile what it is that doesn't match, and take the precautions to calculate, how am I going to get to exactly where I need to be. So that's my little message. Hopefully I wasn't ranting too much. I hope this message reaches you. And the only thing I could say is the 3 things that I would do if I were you is, the first one is literally review the decades of your life. For example, I was born in 1983. I always start my decades in 1982 when I was in my mom's womb, and then I go 10-year periods after that. My decades are not in tune with the decades as they are calculated on an annual basis. I always do my decades from 1982 to 1991, 1992, and going on and catching those periods of my life, and then I can better evaluate what I need to do. The second thing I would do is jot everything down in one place in a journal. It can be a binder with loose leaf paper, or it can actually be a real journal. Jot it down. And then as you go about your year, review what it is that you see your pattern to be, and what you want the changes to be in this decade, and the outcomes. And I will work on my little project. I'll create a playlist, and we'll start doing some work together to grow together, because this channel is for people like myself who we're kind of shy, we're going through our spiritual awakening. It's full of itself, whatever that word you want to use. I don't like to use trigger words, but we don't want to be in the spotlight. We don't want to be in the center of attention. We kind of want to get our information, grow and go. So that's what this channel is for. Tell a friend, subscribe, like, listen to some of my other videos, and support me. I truly do appreciate it, and appreciate all of you. I wish you all a wonderful 2020. I will be back more frequently, making more videos. I know it's been a while, but take care and love and be loved. Happy New Year.